Well, it's day 2 of Holy Week, and Jesus has just made his triumphal entry into the city of Jerusalem. On the back of a donkey, people have laid down palm branches and their outer garments as a way of welcoming in the king to take his rightful place in their eyes. And what happens next probably was shocking and surprising to those who continued to follow him further into the city. Matthew recounts it this way in chapter 21, verse 12. He says, "And Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who sold and bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, 'It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers.'" Now, what was happening here in the temple is there were people selling goods that would be used then in turn for an offering or a sacrifice back to the Lord. They would have been purchased by those who probably traveled a good distance just to get to the temple to be able to offer a sacrifice. And they didn't want to travel with animals or other things needed to be able to make those sacrifices. So there was a financial exchange. They were purchasing the very thing that they would offer back to the Lord. What's interesting is if you read in Psalm, David says of the Lord, he says, "I know that you own a cattle on 1,000 hills, and what you really require, what you really ask of us is an offering of praise or thanksgiving." And I think if we get to the heart of it in this story, I think that's really what upset Jesus, is that he was hoping to enter his house and find people praying, to find people engaged in community, engaged in listening and sitting with the Lord in prayer and pursuing his heart. But what he found instead was something transactional. And that's not what he's actually asking for now from his people, from you and from me. What his deepest desire is for us is relationship. And so I pray that as we continue through this week, that we make time intentionally to do just that, to just sit with him, to pray with him, to commune with him, and to allow space that he can walk with us in the cool of the day, just as he did with Adam in the very beginning of time. So I pray that you are encouraged, I pray that you're challenged, and I pray that you experience the deep love of the Father in the days to come.